everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for another episode of In Reality. And let's meet our guest for today. We have Sheina. Hi, Sheina. How are you?
Hi, everyone. Hi, Rhea. Thanks so much for having me here.
Yes,
It's such an honor.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm so happy that you're here because I'd really love to hear your thoughts about the BPO industry as well as your own as a QA analyst, and for sure that's going to help a lot of our viewers out there. Now, let me go ahead and start with your background, how you started, and what was your experience like?
Okay, so I am originally from Davao Oriental, the province with a lot of coconuts.
Oh, yeah.
And when I was 18, I went to Davao City to look for opportunities in the form of job. And I became a cashier first for 6 months, a sales clerk, and then a service crew for 9 months. And then I decided to work in the call center industry. First, I was working as a non-voice, a chat support for 9 months. And then I decided to upgrade a little bit and work as a non-voice support for an e-commerce store, Canadian. That lasted for around more than a year. And then fortunately, I was lucky enough to be promoted as a QA. So overall, it was a total of 4 years.
I'm really excited to talk to you about what made you decide to apply in the BPO industry.
Well, it was the money, the salary, because yeah, if I had to be honest, it was really the salary. Like most Filipinos, I graduated a 2-year vocational course from a TESDA school, and it was a computer programming course. And the thing about having a computer programming course is you become obsolete really fast if you don't keep up with the technology. And at that time, I did not have the resources to do that because I didn't even have my own computer.
Okay.
I did not have the internet, so I was just not able to keep up and keep up with the progress of the computer programming industry, of the IT. And then another reason is I only studied for 2 years.
Okay.
So the thing about studying a two-year course is you have to compete with the students who studied 4 years or longer. You know, the one with the degrees. So it was really hard when it comes to getting a job.
Yeah.
And at that time, the only place that I knew that I could, get a better salary, a decent salary, was the call center industry. That's it. So that was the main reason why I applied.
Wow.
And it was a hard 4 years, but I really learned a lot. And I wouldn't have learned the things that I know now had I not worked in this industry. So I think it helped me a lot as a person and when it comes to developing my skills.
Yeah, I think that's nice that you pointed it out because a lot of our viewers also are kind of hesitant because they, did not graduate yet. Are they able to enter the industry, things like that. So it is really there's really a proof that even though you haven't graduated a 4-year course, but you have the skills and the attitude and the character to stay in the industry, that you will really you will really be able to get over your challenges and for
Yes.
example the hardships that come with being in the call center industry, and your story is a proof of that. I think it's also nice that you mentioned that sometimes in our circumstances, we can't really continue what we've started, and so we choose a
Yes.
different path. And in your case, you choose to be in the call center. It really helped you a lot, and that's also nice that you actually moved up to becoming a QA analyst, right? Is this part of your career plan, or did it just happen? How did it come to be?
It just happened. So we were pioneers in that account. It was not a huge account. It was made up of 30 agents, I think. And it just happened that I was one of the top performing agents, I think. And the first QA that was promoted, she recommended me to be her partner QA. So I was happy that I was given that opportunity. Of course, I accepted it because I really prefer it over taking calls and talking to irate customers. And I loved it. And I still had to talk to the agents every Friday. But other than that, the rest of the work is, I work alone, and I prefer working alone than working with a team. I have no problem working with a team, but I prefer working alone and just listening to calls, reading the calls, and then every Friday I would talk to each agent one-on-one.
Yeah, that's nice. And everyone, just for your knowledge, Sheena also has a YouTube channel which talks about being in the call center, tips, her personal experiences. And so if you have the time after this, then go ahead and check out her channel as well. For sure,
Thank
you're
you.
going to learn a lot from a different perspective. And I'm going to link her channel in our description box below so that you can check it out after this. And as I was browsing through your channel to understand what you've been through or the topics that you'd like to talk about, I think I've also seen that video wherein you talk about how you became a QA analyst, right? And so that was it, that you did not really plan on doing it. And I think it's just one thing to say that, even though you did not plan it at the beginning of your career, that you can still grow it to something really wonderful that you can really learn from in your stay in the BPO industry. So, Sheena, as
Yes.
a QA analyst, I'd like to ask, what have you observed to be the top 3 struggles of new hires when speaking with customers? Because you're listening to calls all the time, so you must have a list of the struggles of the new hires, right?
Yes, exactly. So one of the most common is the trouble communicating in English, because we are non-native English speakers, and if you don't speak English on a daily basis, and it is not your mother tongue, so it's only normal that you're gonna be having a hard time understanding the accent of your customer. I know that your English could be enough to get you hired during the interview, but when you take your first call on the first day with a live customer, it's going to be really nerve-wracking. The anxiety is there because it's live, and your English is just going to be diminished. So when I started during my first day of taking calls, I was really nervous, and I even asked a customer to spell pure later. Pure later, by the way, is a well-known courier company in Canada, and you can only imagine the shock of the customer when I asked her to, can you spell pure later? I was not even aware that it was, so it was hard. And you will, as a new hire, before you take calls, you will really experience these moments, and they know that they are normal. Don't give up. Don't feel bad about yourself. This is really something that you will experience. But I did not experience that, mind you, in every call. But at least maybe the first 2 weeks is really hard, and you will experience at least 2 to 3 calls like that. The rest of the calls, you will be fine. You will be able to at least understand. And also you will be, based on my experience, I ask a lot of follow-up questions because sometimes I'm not able to initially understand what the customer is saying. So bear that in mind. And I think the most effective way that you can do this is, you can deal with this, is to just immerse yourself in the culture of the country that you're going to be serving. For example, most of your customers are from the US. The best thing that you can do in this case is to just watch movies, American movies especially, if you really want to listen to the accent of the customer. But accent really is the least of your concern. The problem, what you really should work on is understanding the accent. You don't have to sound like, a real American, although that is a plus, but you don't have to, as long as you have this neutral accent that an American could understand. But what's important is you have to be able to understand the American accent. So, you know, because you will be communicating with them.
True.
Another thing is the spontaneity. You know, when for a non-native English speaker, we usually transliterate.
Yes.
So it's hard. It doesn't work like that. When you want to learn a language, you have to be able to think in that language first in thought and then speak it. You should not speak a language by thinking in vernacular first and then translating that in English.
True.
And based on my experience, listening really is the most effective way that I improved my English. I really did not speak. I had a really poor English when I started in the industry. It was enough to get me hired, but it just wasn't enough for me to be effective when talking to my customers. And what I did at the time was to download a lot of videos of native English speakers talking, and then I just listened to them. I think that's really the most important thing. So that's number one, communication skills. And then another thing, the nonverbal cues. These are the tone of voice, the mirroring. The most common thing that I usually notice is the new hires have a hard time mirroring their customers.
Okay.
For example, when the customer is in a hurry, you will probably hear it from her voice. She will not tell you that she's in a hurry most of the time, but the way she will talk to you will be snappish. She will talk to you really fast, short words. So that is exactly how you know that she's in a hurry. In this case, as an agent, you should not wait for the customer to say that she's in a hurry. You should keep up with her pace and use short words, reply to her concisely, so the conversation is going to be over. So another scenario is when you're talking to an old lady that talks really slow. You also have to slow down your words. Use simple words, because old ladies usually are not techie, so you might avoid using techie words, technical terms, because that's something that she will not be able to understand.
Yeah, it's nice that you actually mentioned that, because because of the difference of culture, I believe that sometimes it causes communication breakdown as well.
Yes.
Like what you said, when most Filipinos don't realize that their customers are, let's say, like what you said, in a hurry, or maybe they're having an issue, and sometimes we just fail to realize that just by speaking with them over the phone. So I think that's one of the things that we should improve as well when taking calls. And then, yeah, go ahead, continue.
Yeah. I got a comment from my YouTube channel, and I think it was from an American customer. I don't know how she got to my mock call videos, but she commented this. It said, "I often wonder why a Pinoy rep would say thank you each time I respond to a question. Thank you for that information." It's really long. It's a mouthful. "Thank you for that information. I don't resent the politeness. It's cute and refreshing. But time is of the essence. The extra spiels only slows down the process." And I think there's some truth to this.
Yep.
Of course, And then one rep, I think he's a call center agent, and there was a reply saying, "You can't blame the call reps. Their QAs require them to follow these spiel, or it's a markdown for them on their performance." But if this is true, I think I haven't worked in a structured I haven't worked in a huge company, a huge call center company. The account I worked for was just a small sized company, so I don't really know how it works with the bigger companies out there. I don't know if you know, but is this something that's true, that there's really a script for saying thank you each time a customer gives an information?
Well, it's good that you asked that, and I think that customer is right in a way that she just wants things to get done right away. But for example, in our case, in our company, there's no scripting for the thank you part, but we may require agents, for
Yeah.
example, to be polite by saying thank you, but
Yeah.
not the exact script as is, like thank you for the information. And if you just say thank you, it's a deduction. I think that
Exactly.
doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it doesn't make
Right?
sense because if it is the case, then something has to change. Because you can be polite in so many ways, not just
Yes,
saying thank you.
that's
You
right.
can, yeah, exactly. So you can be polite by saving the customer time. So that's already politeness too.
That's true.
It's not always in the form of thank you. And another thing as well is the empathy.
Yeah.
The empathy statements. I mean, I'm not saying that we don't apologize or empathize enough with the customers. I think
Mm.
that we're doing it too much.
Okay.
Most of it, sometimes I no, it's most of the time really. I hear agents always saying, "I'm so sorry to hear that," or apologize for the inconvenience. But the problem is, it's not really the company's fault, and the agent is apologizing to the customer for the inconvenience.
True.
That's the problem, and I think it has to stop because the customers, when they hear that, they usually assume that it is the job of the agent and the company to fix the problem.
Mm.
She will have that assumption that she's owed by the company because there was already an apology issued. So I think you just have to be careful. If it is the company's fault, then go ahead, apologize. But if not, then you can just empathize, like, oh, that must be hard for you.
Mm.
But don't say that you are sorry or in behalf of the don't say that you're sorry in behalf of the company. And another thing is using also generic empathy statements.
Mm-hmm.
Usually we say, "I'm so sorry to hear that. We apologize for the inconvenience." But it really depends on the situation of the customer.
Yeah.
I know that there's a lot of agents who are saying that they really have a they're really having a hard time empathizing with the customer. For example, when a family dies and
Mm.
the customer says, "Oh, you know, one of my family died," and then a lot of agents don't usually will usually say,
Empathize.
"I'm so sorry to hear that," and
Yeah.
they feel that it is inadequate
Mm.
to just say, "I'm so sorry to hear that."
Mm.
So I think it's also important that you develop these empathy statements, you practice them. And the best way to do that, I think, is to, yeah, watch movies. I know I've been saying that a lot of times, but it's one of the most, it's really the most effective way to develop your understanding of the culture,
Mm.
especially in the US, which is most usually the clients of the Philippine call center industry. And this is not something that you can resolve overnight. You will have to work harder. And as don't worry though, because the more you work, the more you talk to your customers, the more the easier it will be for you. It will come more naturally to you.
Yeah.
But I think the most effective way to deal with these problems that I discussed just now is to really just know the culture of the country that you're going to be serving. Maybe you're going to be serving the Australian accounts or US or British. So it's important to, and the good thing is there's already Netflix now, so you don't have to spend a lot. And
Yeah.
you're, while you're enjoying, you're also improving your accent, you're improving your communication skills, and you're getting into, you know their culture.
Yeah, go ahead.
And the last thing, I think this is also important, is the monotone voice.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how, this is quite common. I think as an agent, you have to remember that when you're speaking over the phone, your voice, you are diminished.
Mm.
And that's because the customer cannot see you. She cannot see you. She can't see your eye contact. So she's only going to rely on your voice, how you deliver your messages. So I think it's important that you have to inject a little more energy in your voice to compensate for the fact that the customer cannot see you face to face. So that means that the way you talk normally in real life should be different from the way you talk over the phone. When you talk over the phone, try to inject more energy into into the way you speak. I think that also applies in video, by the way.
Yes, that's true.
I heard. Yeah, so you have to be more more lively. And in real life, I don't talk like this, but because we're video chatting, it's really important. Yeah, and most especially when you're over the phone, because you're not seeing each other. So yeah, that's also important. And again, the most effective way that I have experienced is to really just watch movies, English movies.
Yeah, and I think that's true. There's truth to that. And nowadays, it's very accessible. Like you said, we have Netflix, and we even have a lot of YouTube videos for
yes, exactly,
everyone to watch, right?
Yeah, your YouTube channel, for instance, it's very helpful.
Thank you.
You have been making videos for how many years now? 4 years, I think.
Almost 3 years, I guess.
Yes, yeah.
Yes.
So that's, I mean, when I started working in the industry, these kind of videos didn't exist at the time.
Yes.
And I had to be a little more proactive with my research. And the good thing was I really wanted to be in the industry. So what I did was to buy a lot of books.
Okay.
I don't know if you're familiar with Book Sale. It's a bookstore, but kind of like the cheaper version of the National Bookstore, where you can buy books for 5 to 10 pesos. And there was one time that I stumbled into this book. It was a book about how to answer how to answer job interview questions, but it was not about call center specifically. But I think that book really helped me a lot. I bought it for 50 pesos, but it really changed my life. That book really changed my life because it gave me an idea as to what if I use the principles in this book and then I will finally apply in the call center.
Yeah.
That's what I did, and I think it really helped me a lot in getting hired. Because these types of videos didn't exist at the time. It was way harder to get into the call center industry if you did not have the experience. Sorry, we were out of topic now.
That's true. I totally agree with you with the resources that we've had when we started. I also did not have anything to read, and I'm a big research person. Like, I research everything before I start doing something. So that's very important to me. And thank you that you mentioned that book, How to Answer Job Interview Questions. Of course, aside from the videos that we have on our YouTube channel, to everyone who's watching, if you don't know, I do have a mini online course about how to get hired as a contact center pro as soon as possible as well. So check out the description in this video. I'm going to link all the resources that you can check out. And I'm just curious to know, Sheina, the things that you've mentioned earlier, are these like part of your QA evaluation before? Do you evaluate based on empathy, tone of voice?
Yes. So the company creates this this Excel where I put the points for each aspect, and then these metrics are definitely included in my company's metrics for QA evaluations.
Yeah, it's good. It's a learning point for us because a lot of our new applicants or newbies who are still planning, of course, they don't have any idea how they'll be rated. And I think that's very important when it comes to thinking about your performance on the floor. I always tell our community that, they have to know how they are rated, because otherwise they won't know how they can improve their performance, right?
Yes,
and in relation to that, of course, everyone working in the BPO wants to pass their performance metrics.
Yes.
Because that's like one of the goals, right? So what are your top tips for agents to pass their QA evaluations? Coming from a QA analyst, of course.
My top advice would be active listening. Active listening is not only listening to what the customer is saying, the verbal cues, but also listening to what the customer is not saying, the nonverbal cues. And as what we have discussed earlier, those you just have to address those issues that we discussed a while ago: the empathy, the monotone voice, the mirroring.
Yeah.
So if you can address those issues, then you will have a great chance of passing your QA evaluations and even getting the performance bonus.
Mm. That's true.
And another thing, company policy first, then customer next. I
Okay.
know they always say that customer should be always first, customer is always right, but you know, if your goal is to pass the QA evaluation and get the performance bonus, then obviously you want to follow the company policy first. There is a lot of there are a lot of agents who who make empty promises to the
Okay.
customers, or they kind of mislead the customer into thinking that they're going to do this, but the company policy actually is saying otherwise.
Okay.
So don't be scared to say that you cannot do this, Mr. Customer, this is not possible, because at the end of the day, you're really going to have to follow the company policy
That's true.
if you want to get the performance bonus and pass the evaluation. And another thing is you have to practice small talks. And if you, practice small talks. This is one of my weaknesses when I was working as a call center agent. I hate small talks.
Same.
And it's really cringy. I don't know. There are customers, they are very rare though. They kind of talk to you and about things that are unrelated, and I just don't see the point, and I don't know how to respond to them, but I try my best. I wish I did better than what I did, but I did not make an effort to make small talks to my customer, and I think that's something that I should have done when I was still an agent. It was not something that happened all the time though, but there are really customers who will talk to you about anything that are unrelated to the company. And I have this colleague who even had this fake laugh, okay, so when a customer tells him a joke, he has this fake laugh, because most of the time when a customer tells a joke, it's usually not funny. I don't know.
Yeah, or we
Maybe
just don't
it is
get
a
it
cultural
sometimes.
difference.
Yeah.
Huh?
Maybe we just don't get it sometimes because
Yeah, exactly. Or we don't
culture.
get it sometimes, or it's the cultural difference. So most of the time, this colleague, he usually has a fake laugh template that he can just,
It's crazy.
laugh, but sound like he's really laughing genuinely to the customer's joke. So it's a kind of way to connect to the customer. But yeah, if you know those little things that will help you connect with your customers, which I didn't do unfortunately, but I think for call center agents, you should try doing those. You should make an effort, and it will help you with your QA evaluations, because that's a big plus when you're able to connect with your customer. And another thing, the first call resolution. So you just have to remember that you just have to give all the information that the customer needs, so she will not have to contact you the second time unnecessarily. Of course, this is not always possible. There will always be times that the customer will forget some information and she has to call back, but at least it's not because you didn't give her the information that she needed.
Yes.
And the last thing is you need to find the balance between quality and quantity. When I was working as a call center agent, I was always so obsessed with the quality that sometimes it could take like 30 minutes for me talking to a single customer, and that's not really great. I may have a great QA score, but my AHT was suffering. It was super high. So I just did not even try to get the performance bonus, because one of the criteria for getting a performance bonus in my company was to also meet the AHT.
Yeah.
And usually, I think it was around 5 to 7 minutes. And if you have a customer that's spending 30 minutes talking to you, then it's already going to hit your AHT hard. So if your goal, I mean, because at that time, my goal was to just, focus on the quality. I was really obsessed with the quality. But if your goal, we will always have different goals on how we will define on what we want to do. But if your goal is to get the performance bonus as well as pass the QA evaluation, then you have to find the right balance between quality and quantity. So what I mean by that is, if you can sacrifice the quality a little bit, if you can speed up your interaction so you will be able to meet the AHD, then don't feel bad about it. And I think this judging on the metrics of the big call center companies, I think they also do not just focus on the quality, but also on the quantity. Because how come there is an AHD? That means they're also concerned about the number of calls that you're going to be able to answer during every day.
Yeah, actually, that's true, especially with BPO companies and not direct hire companies, because most of the time we're paid based on the number of calls that we get, and
Yes.
so we have to be efficient as well. And I'm really like you, when I started as well, my AHT was so high because I was so obsessed with like perfecting the call. That's probably why I
Exactly.
became a QA and I became a trainer, because we want things to be perfect.
Exactly.
Yes, and then I was even part of the improvement pipeline for AHT because my AHT was so high. And so when when that happened, I did my best to really, cut down my AHT. And like what you mentioned, as long as the agent follows whatever is on the criteria of the QA form, then everything should be good, right? You don't
Yes,
really
exactly.
have to, you don't really have to do things that you're not
Yeah.
supposed to do, or that's too far out.
You don't have to be
from the
so obsessive.
result.
Yeah, you don't have to be so
Exactly.
obsessive with the quality. It doesn't have to be 100%. It just has to pass, I don't know, maybe 90 at least. So, and then work harder to get to the AHD, to meet the AHD.
Yes, and of course, as much as possible, if you want to get 100% quality, then that's great. But you
Yes.
also have to balance it with other metrics that you have, without also sacrificing your conversation with the customer. And if you want to totally give the extra mile for customer satisfaction, then do so, but balance it out. That's nice. And so
Yes.
far, we've gotten so many words of wisdom from Sheena, and actually, we're going to continue our conversation after our quick commercial break and icebreaker, everyone. So make sure you stay tuned until the end, because we're going to announce our ebook giveaway after the commercial break. All right? And we're back, everyone. Thank you so much for staying with us. But before we continue our conversation with Sheena, this is the announcement of our ebook giveaway. It's a call center interview questions and sample answers with insider tips. You can just comment your name or your username, any name that I can identify you with. And this is the most important thing. You have to comment one takeaway or lesson learned from this episode so far. And this giveaway ends after 24 hours. So this will be published 6 p.m. and will end tomorrow at 6 p.m. After that, I will choose some of the comments on the comment section, and then I will announce the winners, 3 winners, on my Facebook page as well as on my YouTube community page. So again, don't forget name and at least one takeaway or lesson learned that you have. For sure, there's so many for today's conversation. And so we're going to continue with a fast talk session. So Sheena, are you ready for our icebreaker fast talk question?
I'm not sure.
Don't
Okay, go
worry,
ahead.
this is going to be very easy. You just need to say your choice without any explanation at all.
Okay.
So let's begin with day shift or night shift?
Day shift, of course.
Holiday off or double pay?
Holiday off. It's important to rest.
True. Office or work from home?
Work from home. There's no traffic. I don't have to deal with traffic.
Cash or
explanation.
GC?
Cash.
Late or absent?
I don't, well, neither.
What if you can have a choice? You'd rather be
late, I think. I think there's less of a consequence when you're late than
Yeah.
absent.
Overtime before shift or overtime after shift?
Overtime before shift, I think, because the sleep, the sleep pattern is better like that.
Coffee or soda?
Soda, it doesn't give me palpitation, at least.
True. Customer service or sales?
Customer service.
Voice or non-voice?
Voice. You will learn a lot of skills in voice, I think.
True.
It's
Team
harder,
dr-
but
I know you can't help yourself
Sorry.
and explain.
I'm explaining myself. I feel like I have to explain.
Don't worry about that. Team drinking or team eating?
Team eating, of course. It's
Yes.
better.
Would you rather have an office where you can wear pajamas or work in a really fancy office?
Yeah. Where I can wear pajamas. Better.
For sure. And thank you so much for participating in our Fast Talk question. Let's continue with the rest of our questions. And I want to know, sometimes, a lot of agents feel like QA analysts are just out to get them. Like QA analysts have this stereotype that they're strict or that you're just looking for mistakes. How do you feel about that?
Well, that's really more relevant to me than any other QAs, I think, because I have a resting bitch face, an RBF, and I can't do anything about that. Add to that the fact that I'm an extreme introvert, so I only talk when it's needed, when I feel like it's necessary. I don't usually do small talks. So people really think of me as this unapproachable QA, oh my. So yeah, and then add to that I was a QA. So, but I think as an agent, you just have to think of it as something that will improve you. If you follow the advice of your QA, then it's for your own good.
True.
Yes, and don't always think of QA as someone who's always thinking about evil thoughts, because it will help you in the long run. And
That's true.
there is some truth to this, though. There is really some truth to this, because after all, that is exactly why QAs are paid. They are paid to look for mistakes and how agents can improve. So I think it's just, trabaho lang, walang personalan.
I
Ganun
agree.
lang. Sorry. So yeah, this is just a job, and don't take it too personally.
Yeah.
If there's any QA listening right now, I think it's also important to, instead of noticing the agent's mistake, I think it's also important that you also let them know when they are doing a great job.
Wow, that's
That
right.
will really motivate them, instead of always associating you with this terrorizing creature on the floor. They will feel like they have a purpose, that they are making a difference to the company when you are letting them know that you're doing a great job. Even if they're not getting a perfect score in a call, you point out their mistakes still, of course, but you also have to let them know when they're doing a great job. For example, you can say something like, you know what, I really like what you did here. I think you should do this in each of your call. Keep it up. Just a simple reminder like that.
Yeah.
It will help you. Well, at the end of the day, you're still gonna be obviously looking for mistakes, but yeah, don't forget to also praise them when they're doing a great job.
Yeah, I love that you mentioned that, because I truly believe in like praising, appreciating the good things that people do and not just pointing out mistakes. And I think that's really true, not only for QA but also for, let's say, supervisors
Yes.
and trainers and everyone in a management position, even like a peer-to-peer relationship, working relationship, that is
Yes.
very, applicable as well. And you know what? Sometimes we also can't avoid that there are agents who keep making the same mistakes, right? Over and over again.
Yes.
Even when
Yeah.
you've coached them, you've told them what to do, but they still, make the same mistake. I don't know why. So how do you deal with agents like that?
Usually I ask them first whether they read the Excel sheet that I sent them, because we usually send our QA evaluation to in Excel form, and then send it through email, and then they will have the time to read those QA evaluations. So first thing was I asked them if they read it,
Yes.
and if it really if it keeps really if it really keeps happening all the time, then there the only option I have left is to forward that problem to his or her TL, team lead. That's the last resort. Then the TL will be the one who will fix the agent, who will help them. Maybe there's a personal problem. It's
True.
usually the job description of the TL to help them, to specialize on that agent, and just to talk to them what might be causing that, that problem.
Yes, I agree. And I like that you mentioned that you are going to bring it to the right person instead of, personally like bringing it up to the agent as well, because we never know, they might have their own personal issues that are affecting their call. And I think their direct
Yes.
supervisor will be able to resolve that issue with them as
Yes.
well. Yes.
Because
That's
TL is more, I think it's closer to the agents
true.
than the QA. So if there is one person on the floor that can help the agent, it should be the TL.
Yes. So if you're watching this right now, don't hesitate to speak with your supervisor in any case, or if you have any issue. And I hope you have that kind of good working relationship with your supervisor as well. That is really valuable to our viewer, Sheena. And to wrap it up, I'd like to ask you, what is your general advice to everyone who wants to be part of the BPO industry, especially nowadays? The BPO industry is one of those like businesses or industries in the Philippines that are still really hiring, right, despite the pandemic. So what can you say?
Okay, so first, just do it. Don't hesitate. It took me more than a year to finally gather the courage to apply. And it shouldn't have taken that long. But I'm usually a person who always prepares. So, there was a lot of delay. And the thing is, you don't need to have a perfect grammar to be in this industry. My grammar is still not perfect. Because as you go, you will learn new things along the way. You cannot learn new skills just by delaying your application to the call center industry.
True.
So that's really important. You don't need to have a perfect grammar. This is like an issue in the Philippines. I don't know if this is a Pinoy thing, but we're usually very critical when somebody makes a grammar mistake.
Right.
So this has to change a little bit. So, people would be more courageous, especially when applying in the industry. And then another thing is that rejection and failures are part of the process.
Right.
So without, when you're applying for the first time, don't expect that there is a high possibility of you not getting hired or rejected, and that's normal. Some people will be lucky enough to be hired the first time, but if you're not, then don't worry about it. The good thing is, the more failure and rejection you have, the more opportunities for learning.
True.
So that's really important. Feel free to feel bad about it, but don't let the rejection and failures hinder you from reapplying, because it will only be a matter of time before you get the job.
True.
The more you get rejected, the more things you will learn.
Right.
And okay, another thing. This will not really sound sexy, but when I applied in the call center, I actually memorized my answer to the interview questions. That one helped me a lot. And I know it doesn't sound sexy at all, but it helped me with my mental block. There are times during the interview where you just don't know what to say, and you freeze.
Yeah.
And I think if you at least memorize some of the answers, it'll help you. Because the thing about interview questions is they are kind of related somehow.
Yeah.
So this answer will apply to this interview question. So for example, this answer will usually apply to 10 other interview questions.
True.
So it will help you. So yeah, I mean, I would not personally recommend it didn't if I did not do that, but it was exactly what I did when I first applied in the call center, and it helped me. So of course, I'm not saying that it will work for a lot of you, but that's exactly what helped me. And
Yeah.
you know, I got the job and I was happy with that. But of course, as you help customers, as you gain the experience, you're not going to have to do that again with your next application. This is just to
Yeah.
help you pass.
Yeah.
And okay, the very last lesson. Sorry,
Good, good.
consider the call center company as your stepping stone.
Mm-hmm.
You need to have an action plan. What do you want to do after you become a call center agent? Because there will come a time in your life. I'm not saying that this will apply to everyone, but I've seen it in a lot of call center agents where they get really bored after a year or two talking to customers. And I think it's important that before you even try to apply in the call center industry, create an action plan. What do you want to do after you become a call center agent? Do you want to learn new skills, you know, finance your degree? Maybe you have a degree that you couldn't finance for the meantime.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe you want to be promoted. You want to stay in the industry, but you don't want to be a call center agent forever. So
Mm-hmm.
just set those plans right now, even before you think of applying in the call center.
Mm.
This is
Yeah.
very important.
Yeah, that's nice. I think that a lot of our viewers can relate with that and resonate with that, Sheena. And I know we all have different circumstances, and what Sheena mentioned for sure will apply to a lot of you viewers who are watching out there, especially the part about preparing or planning for your future when you enter the call center industry, and also preparing for your interview by having that elevator pitch, or at least memorizing some parts of your answers. You know, that might or might not work for you, but it did work for her and she got the job. So I think that you can also learn from that. And well, let's wrap up everything. I think that our community was able to get a lot of valuable lessons from this episode. I'd like to take this chance to thank you, Sheena, for being here on my channel. I truly appreciate your time and for giving us insights about your work and being a QA analyst and how you handle agents as well. And I look forward to meeting you personally in the future, hopefully.
Yes, when the quarantine is over.
Yes,
And
for sure.
thank you so much for having me here.
Yes.
When you sent me the email, I was flattered. Yeah,
Wow. Yes.
truly.
I'm really happy that there are like more people like us talking about this, and I think this is just going to be beneficial for the community. And the more the merrier, and you know,
Yes.
you and I can both offer like different insights about our personal experiences. So I think it's
Yes.
going to be a big help. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I'm really, really happy that you're here. And so thank you, everyone. Don't forget we have a giveaway. So make sure you comment your name and your takeaway or your lesson in the comment section below. I'll choose 3 winners and announce them on my Facebook page and YouTube community page. So this has been In Reality. Thank you so much, and we'll see you on our next episode. Bye.